Hi, everybody. Today we are talking about the Caregiver Balancing Act between personal relationships and perspectives and things that we can learn in caregiving. Caregiver asked me a couple of days ago, how do I not take things personally when I'm caring for a loved one whose behaviors have totally changed due to their illness, due to their situation? Well, I can say that taking things personally, whether you're a caregiver or not, can transfer to all relationships of life. If you follow my YouTube channel, by the way, please do like, follow, share these videos so that other people can find hope, help, and support. You know that I am a big advocate of looking at both sides of every issue, the pros, the cons, so that we can gain new perspectives because we all become limited by what I call our environment. So if you're a caregiver, maybe you're spending most of your time in caregiving activities. If you work, maybe you spend most of your time at work. If you are a stay-at-home parent, maybe your environment is the home and the children that you're caring for. And those environments can kind of skew where we focus our time and our attention and our thoughts. So in this video, we're going to talk about 3 topics to help you learn to become a more active participant in your life and to love your life. The first one is how not to take things personally, whether you are a caregiver or not. Number 2 is actions that you can take if you are that caregiver or the person with health problems and you're interacting with doctors and other people in the healthcare system, and maybe you feel like they're just not paying attention to what you need. How can you speak up and get more of what you want from those relationships? And then the third area is really realizing what environment you're in and how that environment is affecting you mentally and physically. And is there a way to shift that so that you get more of what you want out of life? So let me start with an example of caregiving situations where it can be really easy to take things just coming at you personally. Let's say that you're caring for mom or dad or husband or wife, and they're angry all the time. They use bad language that you don't like. Maybe they criticize everything that you do. It's just you bought the wrong thing at the grocery store. You're not putting the sheets on the bed right. The house is too cold. The house is too hot. The meal that you made isn't good, right? It's just bum, 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 bum of things that aren't right. And you're thinking, oh my God, I hate my life. I can't do this, right? Well, these situations, for better or worse, are very common in caregiving situations because the person who needs care feels like they've lost a lot of control over their life, right? You know, maybe they have limitations where they used to be able to jump in the car and go out and do things. And now they have to rely on you to take them everywhere. What happens is when you feel like, or when the reality is that you have to rely on other people to do things for you, right? You can easily forget that, gosh, that other person has 20 other things to do. Maybe I'm just one of those things today. And so when we become that person who needs others, we can become super inner focused, and the only thing we're thinking on is like what's right in front of us and our needs. And we're not thinking that anybody else has a life because this is my life, darn it, and it's important, and I need this now, and I want this now, and it's all I have, right? So a comparison of this that might be easier to understand is think of when you were maybe a new parent or if you had a child. That baby who's brand new can't do anything, right? They lay in a crib. It's not like they can walk out or crawl. They can't go get food. They can't go to the bathroom. So that baby makes a ruckus, right? Crying, yelling, screaming because they need your attention in that moment to solve that problem. Well, when you think of older parents, and I'm not necessarily, comparing them to helpless babies because they are not totally helpless, right? But they can get into this mindset where I need somebody to do this for me. I want somebody to do this for me. I shouldn't have to do this for myself. They have expectations of their caregivers that caregivers participate in by doing things willingly, by immediately responding, by not setting boundaries, even though you don't realize that you do that, right? So if you are the caregiver in a family, or let's say that you work in a healthcare system, in a hospital, a nursing home, assisted living, maybe you work in home health, it can be really hard to maintain this mentality of, oh, I have to get up and I got to go to battle every single day with this person that I care for, or with these 10 people at the care community that I work who are so focused on their needs that I'm going to have to be kind and be patient all day. It is like this mental battle that you're preparing for, right? That you got to just do it every day and every day. And that can become really wearing on your mental state. It can affect your physical health. Caregiving has all types of effects on life, right? But so does stress outside of a caregiving life, right? You have stress from work. You have stress from other people in your life. There's all these things that we deal with on a daily basis. And so balancing taking things personally with looking at what I call cause and effect can help you not take things so personally and realize that other people have things they're going through too, and you may have just come in the path of that in the matter of this particular time of day or this particular situation. So when you think about all these behaviors and emotions and everything coming at you in a caregiving situation or other situations, if you can stop and think about some questions. Did I cause this problem? Did I cause this reaction? Did I say something? Did I do something that resulted in this? Now, if it's a close relationship, it's very possible that you did, right? If it's somebody that you don't even know, probably very unlikely, and what they're dealing with is more about them than you. So, but this leads us to the next question. If you didn't do something to intentionally cause this behavior from somebody else, then why are you taking the behaviors personally? Why do you feel harmed or threatened or less capable than the amazing person that you are because of the way other people are behaving? Do you second guess things? Like you're worrying about, like, well, why did they say that? Why are they doing that? You're overthinking situations and you're trying to solve for problems that don't even exist. In fact, maybe you're making up problems that don't even exist. How does this happen? Happens because our brain can see people or situations as threatening. This has been the evolution of the brain, right? Back a million years ago, people had to hunt and fight for survival. There were wild animals. You had to go kill animals to have something to eat, right? So there's this survival mechanism in all of us that we can learn to manage so that our brain doesn't go off thinking, oh, what did I do? Why is that person thinking negative of me? What's going on over there that I don't know about, right? Because that really just causes more commotion and stress in our brain. But when these things happen, what we think is, our first thought is, oh, I don't like this, or this person that I'm caring for who yells at me all the time makes me feel really bad, and they make me feel like I'm not worthless and I don't have any skills. So we tend to react emotionally. But what if you could switch gears from that emotional brain over here to thinking a little more logically on the other side of life? Would that change these feelings of, feeling like you just can't do enough? So what if you could shift your brain from the emotional to look at the situation and think, wow, that person must be having a really bad day if they're angry or stressed or whatever. And honestly, I know what that feels like because I have had a bad day every now and then. Or, wow, mom or dad is really frustrated today. I don't know why they're frustrated. It's nothing I did, but I know what frustration feels like. Or if you can shift gears and think of, like, wow, that person doesn't feel good. And I know when I don't feel good, I'm not as patient with people, and maybe I'm not as kind. And I get it. I get why they feel that way. So if we can shift from emotional to logical gear, right? And look at situations from the opposite perspective that we normally would do, right? That can increase the chances of not taking things personally. So let's take this one level deeper for people who are caregivers. Let's say that you care for a person with Alzheimer's or dementia. Maybe they've had a brain injury, some type of cognitive impairment. And you see this person who you have loved all of your life. And at times, you honestly just don't know who they are because they are yelling and screaming, and maybe they're hitting you, and they're just fighting you over what you're trying to do for them, or you're trying to help them eat or take a bath or take the medications, and they're just like not having any of it, right? Well, they're not doing this on purpose, okay? It's because of the changes going on up here in their brain. They lose the ability to control their behavior. They can't judge whether what they said is something nice or not. All the filters that used to moderate their behavior, they're gone. They're out the window. It's like the road is broken. There's a big gap in the road, and the disconnects in their brain are causing all this, okay? But until you realize this, right, you could think that your loved one with dementia knows that they're being mean to you, and they're purposely being mean to you because they want to be hateful and spiteful. Well, that's not the case. If you're a spouse caring for a spouse with dementia, you may take this a little more personally because this is the person that you loved all of your life, right? And let's say that it may not be behaviors, but maybe you used to have just like wonderful discussions with this person, and you were able to do all these things, and now you can't. Now the person that you care for is very helpless, and you're taking that personally. Well, I understand that you can't take that personally, but you shouldn't, because it's nothing that they can control, and it's nothing that you can control. It's a very heartbreaking situation. And the person that you care for, if they had a behavior 5 minutes ago, they don't remember that they had the behavior. If they said something 2 minutes later, they don't remember that they said something, right? You're the one with the memory. You're the one that remembers what life used to be like, those conversations that you used to have, all the things that you used to do. The person with memory loss has absolutely no recognition of any of that. And it's hard not to take that personally, right? But it's also hard because this is the environment that you live, especially if you are a 24/7 caregiver, right? You and this other person are the only people that you see. And so you, as that caregiver, can default to that state where you feel like life is out of control. All those dreams that you had for retirement, they are down the toilet, and that your life is extremely limited. And so you become that person with the behaviors. You become angry. You become resentful. You become impatient. And there are times, honestly, when you're thinking, I don't even know who I am anymore. All these behaviors that I have, all these feelings that I have, I never used to be like this. Well, it's because this new environment that you're in, this new situation that you're in, has put all these pressures on you, and all of this change and everything that's uncomfortable, and you just don't like it. Well, neither do the people that you care for. They're in a similar situation. So you have two people who are trying to do their best, who are battling all these emotional and mental and physical challenges. And so that's why it's important to try to see it from the other side, right? Not only from your side, to try to take that different perspective. And let's talk about environment and people who do have memory loss, right? They may not understand a word that you say. All that may be just beyond their comprehension anymore, right? But what they can understand is they can understand if you're smiling or frowning. They can understand if you're rushed or hurried. It's almost like they have horse sense, right? They can read their environment, which happens to be you, the caregiver, right? And so if they're reacting, the question to ask yourself is, what am I doing? How am I feeling? How am I showing up in this situation that's causing my loved one, who can't even tell me how they're feeling anymore, to react in such a negative manner? This happens in a lot of situations with memory loss. And so their environmental factors, right? You, the caregiver, could be noise, it could be a lot of commotion, can result in these unpleasant behaviors that then you take personally, but maybe you don't even realize that you're the cause of the behaviors. And we all know this, right? We all know that, you react and then there's another reaction from this way, and you go back and forth, and we cause reactions in our life, right? We respond to somebody, they respond back. You're angry at somebody, they can be angry, or maybe they just disconnect and they walk away because they don't want to deal with your situations. Or maybe their logical brain says, well, I see that you're angry. What are you angry about? Is this something I did? Can we work this out? So on the aspect of dementia and behaviors and environment, on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, there's an online program called Caring for Aging Parents. Module 6 talks about how to create a care plan for loved ones with dementia. But there's a great document in there called the Neuropsychological Effects of Behaviors, which can help you if you're caring for somebody with Alzheimer's or dementia who's having a lot of behaviors and you're not sure, is it something I'm doing? Is it something I don't know about? Is there a way to calm these behaviors down? Great document there, a lot of help and support there. So I recommend that you check that out if you're in this situation. But let's go back to the, reaction, response, interaction between people. If we start looking at the foundation of behaviors and reactions, and especially if this is somebody that we want to have a relationship, right? So that's the assumption. Behaviors are cause and effect. So it's important to realize, just as you have a bad day, somebody else has a bad day, but also that your behaviors or your interactions may have nothing to do with the behaviors of other people. So think about, that car that cut you off in traffic this morning, or you go to the grocery store and somebody has to just rush in line to get in front of you. These people are in their own little world. They're in their own little environment, thinking about their needs and their to-do lists and what they have to get done. And they're really not thinking about you, right? So when they do whatever they do, it's not like, oh, I want to, upset the person in line behind me, or, I want the person who's talking on the other end of the phone line to feel bad. That's not even a consideration. Just like when you do things, you may not consider the effect that it has on other people. So if you're taking things personally, again, ask yourself why you think that this is happening and if there's a foundation for it or not. So let's take these emotions and feelings about taking things personally and translate them to interactions with the healthcare system, right? So this is number 2. If we are interacting with the healthcare system, what things can we do if we're feeling ignored by healthcare providers or dismissed, or we're not getting the support that we need and we're upset about that, right? What can we do? So in the healthcare system, there are these words called health and financial literacy. And if you watch my videos, I try to translate healthcare speak into things that everybody can understand. So health and financial literacy, terms that the healthcare system uses. So you care for that person with dementia. They have behaviors. There are things that you don't understand. You may think they keep doing things on person just to make you angry, but that's not the case. But that's at that time and at that point in space, right? That may be the limit of what you know about Alzheimer's and dementia. There's a whole another aspect. There's a lot more out there that you can learn. That is called health literacy. But you're not going to know that unless somebody says, hey, they're doing things that they can't control. They have a brain injury. Why are you thinking they're doing this on purpose? Here's a book. Here's a website. Go to the Alzheimer's Association, learn more. You're not going to know that what you're seeing is not factual or not accurate unless you take that initiative to learn more about Alzheimer's disease, or if your parent has heart disease or diabetes or cancer. Unless you go outside of your environment to learn, you're going to be limited by your environment, which happens to all of us, right? So this idea of health and financial literacy come into play when we become exposed to new situations for which we don't have experience. And this relates to caregiving, but again, it can relate to any part of your life, right? You're at work and somebody asks you about X and you don't know anything about X. Well, if you learn about X, you'll know more and you'll know how to respond to those questions and maybe react to those situations. But let's relate this to something common that we all have issues with in the healthcare system, right? Health insurance, the copays, the deductibles, and everything else. Honestly, you almost have to be rocket science to understand how this works, right? But that's because we are the consumers and the patients, right? The other people in the healthcare system who specialize in this and are experts in this get it. They know all those crazy words that we don't understand. They talk in terms that we don't get. And so we have to bridge that healthcare side of the way that they speak with the consumer side of how we speak and what we understand, right? So a lot of people don't understand how insurance works. It's complicated. If you are here and you're an older adult, you may have Medicare, right? You know that between October and December every year, you're going to get bombarded by people trying to sell you a new Medicare plan, trying to get you to change plans and all that kind of stuff. Now, original Medicare, that red, white, and blue card, it works for everybody who wants to have more choices. But a lot of those commercials that you see on TV, they're trying to sway you to Medicare Advantage plans, which can be great depending on your situation, right? Again, pros and cons of everything. Original Medicare versus Medicare Advantage. Advantage plans can offer more benefits, but they can also put you into a narrow network of doctors that you have to see, where, for example, if you're on original Medicare, you can go to anybody that you want. But you also may need another insurance plan called a gap plan because there's this 20% that original Medicare doesn't pay for. But if you don't know this and you don't go out and seek the information and the education, you may get really angry and think that, wow, Medicare's a bad program. It doesn't work. There's all these problems with it. Well, there's problems with everything, right? But the more that you learn about the differences in Medicare, the better care you can get, the more you can advocate with doctors saying, you know, I want this. Can we do this? So really is up to you to become more literate from a healthcare perspective and from a financial perspective, because insurance pays for a lot of your benefits. Now, let's say you're younger and you have health insurance through your employer. Well, maybe you're trying to figure out too, it's like, is this covered? Is this not covered? If I pay for something, is that considered a copay? Or is it a deductible and it goes against my deductible and the maximum out-of-pocket money that I have to spend, right? All these terms are crazy. But again, if you want to become more in control and not feel like the system is doing things to you, right? It's like the healthcare system is denying my claims. They're doing all this. You have to get involved and you have to learn and you have to advocate for yourself. So pick up the phone, call your insurance company, save yourself getting that unpleasant bill in the mail because you didn't know what insurance was going to pay for or was not going to pay for. So these efforts to become more literate in whichever way you need to are beneficial to you. Learning is good for you. And you may think, well, you know, I'm a caregiver. I'm so busy. I don't have any time to learn. If you don't have time to learn, your situation cannot change. It cannot improve. It cannot get better. And you can't be a better caregiver. You know, if you're trying to help somebody, the more you know, the more knowledgeable you become, the more experience you have, the better caregiver you are. It's the same thing in the workplace, right? The more that you learn, the more experience you have, you make more money, you get promoted, you become a more valuable employee, you have more to offer, you can help more people. Which takes us to number 3, which is environment, which can relate to, again, your caregiving relationships, your work relationships, family, friends, everything. So where we put our time and attention can be considered our environment. And this can be complicated because sometimes we're trying to balance where we spend our time. So depending on the point where you are in your life, you might be focused on caregiving, or you might be focused on building your career, or maybe you're a young couple and you're having children and you're raising them, right? And then maybe you also have elderly parents that you're trying to take care of. So in your caregiving relationships, there may be an expectation from your family or your culture that you're going to give up everything and you are going to do it all to meet the needs of the person who needs care, right? Well, your friend relationships might be a little more balanced. Those might be, I give and I take, and this feels really good. But the challenge in life is that depending on timing and unexpected things that happen that we don't control, that we don't like, we can have to shift from one environment to another. And depending on the environment, there's different expectations and different skills that we use. So let's use a common example in caregiving. You are the primary caregiver and you're watching your siblings and they're going on with their lives and they're doing everything. And you're thinking, wow, man, I don't like this. They're not paying attention to me. They're doing this on purpose to make me miserable. They don't want to help. Maybe you've given up your job, which was a great environment because it got you away from caregiving and it gave you an income. So now you've given up everything and your only focus in your only environment is this caregiving environment, which makes you feel bad. And maybe you've given up your friends. So this caregiving thing becomes your job. Well, the same thing can happen if your siblings are focusing on their career, right? Their career can be their total focus to the exclusion of everything else, sometimes their family and a parent who needs care, right? So everybody has these different priorities at different times in life. And that's the perspective that we have to realize and not take it personally and not become angry about. Because whatever you're focusing on right now is the most important thing to you, right? Somebody else may have a totally different focus. So on that idea of taking things personally, caregivers can become resentful when other people are going on with their lives and their environments of their priorities. And that can be hard, right? So we have to recognize that we all do this, though. Parts of our life are going to take more time than others. But the important thing to realize is we have that choice of how we respond and how we react. And caregivers, you do have a choice. I know that a lot of you say, Pamela, I don't have a choice. I had to do this. There was nobody else. Well, you do have a choice. You chose to be that caregiver. And so there's an opportunity there to embrace it and to learn everything that you can, to be proactive, not to feel like people are doing things to you. So don't be a victim. Do not feel like you are stuck. Seek out education, seek out knowledge, seek out learning, increase your health and financial literacy, understand the effects on your life. Because by learning, you increase your ability to make changes in your life. So again, instead of being that person who takes things personally, or you're the person who's become resentful and you have behaviors that other people take personally so they don't want to be around you, you increase the focus on your life and you feel more capable. Our feelings are controlled by our brain. Choices are controlled by our brain. What you put into your brain, that knowledge, that information, those skills, result in your daily life. So my point here is be open to different perspectives. Realize that your way may not always be right, even though you'd like it to be because it's so much easier. There's two sides to every story. There are different perspectives that we can gain. And the environment that we spend the most time in can really be self-limiting, even though we don't realize it. So get out there, learn, live, and begin to love your lives. I'm Pamela D. Wilson. I'm a caregiving expert, advocate, and speaker. My website's PamelaDWilson.com. Again, please click below. Please share these videos so that other people looking for hope, help, and support who might need a different perspective can find us here. Have a fabulous day today. I'll see you all again soon in another video.